Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Lynette. Today I'm going to talk to you about understanding the world. And by that, I mean little tips on understanding how to live life, to live in this world, to make it a little brighter and a little easier. I want to start out by saying, unfortunately, I'm in a position where I need help doing things. So with that being said, it brings me to my next subject, and that is I have a caregiver that I need them to do specific things for me. And when I keep saying it, and they don't understand, or they do it wrong, or it puts me in harm's way, my first instinct was to elevate my voice and get not angry, but frustrated, I guess you would say. And then I learned over time that approaching someone in that way doesn't do any good because it puts them on the defense. So when I started taking a breath and thinking about how to word this in a different way so I could get the same task accomplished without making that person feel defensive, my relationship, starting with the caregiver, turned out so much better. And I thought, oh my gosh, if you just take a breather, you can get the same amount of stuff accomplished, but you don't have to say it in an abrupt way. And this spills over into every area in your life, your relationships, romantic friendships, business relationships, whatever it is. Stop and think about how to say what you want to say without putting the person on the defense, because there's a way to get anything and everything across that you want to say. There is a right way to say it. People aren't stupid. They understand what you mean. And learning this is one of the good things that came out of what I'm going through. They say every cloud has a silver lining. And no matter what you're going through, you make adjustments and you learn. And this particular lesson is interacting with human relationships. There's a way to do it that makes it so much better. Listening better, the way you ask for things, the way you do things, the way you treat people. In fact, I heard a long time ago that if you feel love in your heart for someone, if you can muster up love for whoever you're talking to, and you feel it inside, that they can receive that. They can feel it in a sense. Or what it does, I think it makes your demeanor come across so much gentler. I would think the expression on your face, it's almost like when somebody puts something in front of you that's not pleasant smelling, you have a funny look on your face without even realizing it. Well, I think the same holds true when you feel love for someone. I think there's a different look on your face, a different look in your eyes, and the person that you're talking to can feel it. It's something you might want to try. You might want to experiment with this, is muster up the love for whoever you're talking to, and it will change your whole demeanor. It'll soften your voice, soften your tone, soften everything. But since the journey that I'm on has brought me through learning so much about human relationships, about communication, the importance of communication. Don't get me wrong, at the same time, when you want something done, you don't need to water it down. You don't need to apologize for what your needs are. Remember, you always have to think about yourself first. You have to protect yourself. And by watering down, I know, and I'm guilty of this myself, I was so uncomfortable with asking people for help that I would almost over-explain why I needed something. And then I realized you don't need to do that. You don't owe that to the other person. What you owe is to yourself. If you need something, you need it done. But all I'm saying is take a pause. Take a few minutes. Diffuse what could be an uncomfortable situation and still get the same positive results, but in a different way where nobody is offended and there are no uncomfortable feelings. And so that way, the relationship is always enjoyed. Somebody always enjoys being around you. You always enjoy being around that person. In other words, it's a recipe for a positive relationship. So if you carry that beyond your personal relationships, once you understand this and once you get it down, and I know the faster our world is turning, it's harder to take a breath and step back. But it's important because it saves a lot of time. In the long run, you end up trying to diffuse now an uncomfortable situation where that shouldn't have happened in the first place. So everything becomes much easier. And this is when you start walking and becoming your best self and becoming a leader. A leader knows how to talk to people. A leader knows how to get things done. But a leader also knows how to communicate, not in an abrupt setting. Again, you can get the same things done, and it can be a favorable outcome. And when you develop these interpersonal relationships, then you can walk in a positive flow. You feel good, not only mentally, but physically also, because your life just flows a little bit better. You know how to get things done. You know how to develop good relationships. And at the same time, you know how, and this is most important, to put yourself first. It's so funny because I know all our lives, and I'm one also, that has been taught subtly, not outwardly, but subtly, putting yourself first would be a selfish move. And it took me a long time to realize that is the furthest thing from the truth. If you don't look out for you, who's going to? Everybody has an obligation and a responsibility to take care of and to look out for this gift of life that God has given us, this body. And if we don't look out for ourselves, who would? Who's going to? And by doing that, you develop a love for yourself. And the love overflows into others. It's one big circle, and it's how we communicate in this life, in this world. And it made me start thinking about things on a much broader scale. It made me start thinking about this world. For a long, long time, I've thought about this world in terms of the suffering that goes on, the need for peace. Recently, I was thinking about the world, and I wanted to start praying for it, but I thought, where do you start? Where do you even start with trying to find peace in this world with all the different mindsets, with all the different religions, with all the different politics, everything? So I started to want to, in my mind, I guess it would be kind of compartmentalize it. In other words, it would be like working a puzzle, putting one piece at a time. And then it made me remember a situation, and I'm going to share this with you. My girlfriend and I were at a shopping center, and I was wearing leggings tucked into ankle boots way before it was in style. I've been doing it forever because when I'd wear my tie pants, it wouldn't fit over the ankles on my boots. And I remember when we were in this center, I remember somebody looking at me and smirking. And I didn't think too much about it, but I just continued to be who I am. Then I'm going to fast forward sometime later. I was with that same friend of mine, and we were talking, and the subject of leggings and ankle boots came up, and she said, "Didn't you start that?" And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that she noticed that I was doing it before anybody else. However, no, I don't think I started it. I really don't. But what I'm getting at is it just takes one person to start something and somebody else sees it. And although this is a negative comparison, I mean, that's how it is with diseases. It spreads, and it always starts somewhere, good and bad. So we can start spreading the good. And I think it actually starts with kindness and kind words. Everywhere you go, with everybody you meet, everybody you see, everyone you come in contact with, remember, everything started somewhere. Everything started with one person. And our kindness will reach from the East Coast to the West Coast and hopefully overflow to the world, especially with the connection of social media. I mean, there's people connecting from all over the world. There is a universal thing called kindness that we can spread with each other. And as new generations are born and start taking over, if they're raised and normalized with kindness, with empathy, with generosity, I believe this would be the start of a world that would have more peace, more love, more understanding. And I just want to add something to what I mentioned earlier about taking a pause before you say something to somebody. And that is, in your walk, in your life, you can be a leader, not a follower. Just because you're being kind and communicating in a more controlled atmosphere doesn't mean you can't be a leader. You don't have to be abrupt to be a leader. I think that was a misconception a while back. I remember so many people felt it was kind of a weakness to apologize. So they were trying to lead on intimidation, basically. Where I think as you develop your spiritual walk, your best life, being the best version of yourself, that line, that fine line that balances being kind, being a good communicator, and still getting things done becomes more clear. You can walk that line, and yes, you can have it all. And I think it starts with kindness. So again, we're going to connect it starting here with you in your personal life, and then overflowing on a much broader level, until this world starts operating in that direction. It might seem funny and out of reach at first, but everything starts somewhere, good, bad, or indifferent. I think people who are raised by people who are greedy, dishonest, corrupt, they see that as a norm. Well, the same happens when you start displaying kindness, getting things accomplished by saying what you mean what you say, but saying it in a way where it's not going to make the other person feel defensive or intimidated. You can still get just as much accomplished. And the difference is, I think, you end up walking away feeling so much better about yourself. I really do have a strong compassion for the world. And as I think about it, this podcast, for example, has been listened to in 90 countries. That just goes to show you how small and connected our world really is. So we need to start, and we need to start somewhere, and I think it needs to start with us. And literally let it spread like anything else spreads, good or bad. Let's let the good spread. And I believe without a doubt that it will eventually reach everywhere. And as I said, I know it sounds like it's out of reach, but it's like the leggings and the ankle boots. It all starts somewhere. It all starts with one person. With that being said, I will talk to you next week. God bless. Bye-bye.